Hi, it's Narelle here. I'm going to chat to Christine Reed about her painting The Feast today. We're going to chat about how she came about painting and this style and the way she works with these fantasy still lives. It's one in a series that she'll do. So, Chris, I think maybe we can start talking about how you start with these paintings. Where do you start? How do they come about?
Thanks, Narelle. Well, I start with the background. And the background that you can see here is basically a piece of canvas that I've painted with Prussian blue loosely. You can see some of the canvas coming through and you can see the brush strokes. I've painted a very rough seascape on it. It was a wild sea that I was trying to imagine because I wasn't sure where this painting was going at the beginning. And there's a cliff off to the left. It's a local beach. And to be honest with you, I don't always know where I'm going when I start.
So sometimes they turn into a fantasy still life and sometimes they may stay a landscape?
Absolutely.
And this one looks like you've started obviously making it into a...
Yes. So I had this piece for a few weeks and wasn't sure what to do with it, and I bought a pretty vase in an op shop and my husband bought me a copper jug and I thought, you know what? I'm going to turn this into a still life.
I can see that you draw in your pieces with a bit of chalk first and you start sort of arranging a bit of a...
Yes, and you can see that I've started to add pears and apples, a goblet, a bottle of wine, and my grapevine grew some grapes. And so I started...
It's turning into a feast.
It is turning into a feast. So that's where I got the idea from.
And I imagine the fantasy still life comes from the fact that you're turning a landscape into this fantasy of a still life that's a made-up kind of story almost.
You're absolutely right. And I have fun with the idea. And you can see here that I've then thought, right, we need some flowers in here. So I've bought some flowers and popped them in and picked some other flowers. And I also look at magazines to see what pretty things I can add in.
For adding to your composition if you don't have the actual objects in front of you.
That's right. That's right. And books. I use books.
It's good here to see the way you actually paint too, that you're just adding layers and you're working across the whole of the piece at the same time.
Yes, I do try to make sure that I have a comprehensive piece, but that it's contained so that there is a balance, so that your eye will go around the painting and look at the different areas.
And it looks like you do that organically. You work out your composition as you go.
Yes. In this view, you can see the sky isn't finished, neither is the background, but the foreground is getting very close. And I'm feeling like we're starting to see the fantasy.
Yeah, right. I can see you pointing at things like the bits that are finished and then you've got to add into some areas and you chalk into some areas where you're going to add. You've obviously worked up the sky some more as well.
Yes, exactly.
So you go back and work into your background as well as doing your foreground.
So I'm analysing in a sense where I think things need to go. I want to make sure, look, I've chalked in some background lines to try and make sure that the seascape is working. I've wanted to put those flowers in and make sure that we've got some complementary colours happening, and also that, you know, there are some reds and yellows that work on both sides of the painting.
So balancing once again with your composition and your colours.
Exactly. And I've added in, I think the prawns weren't in the original painting. Right. That you saw. I'm just pointing out the reds. I want to make sure that the reds balance so that they don't overtake in one area.
Or you haven't got one standing out in one spot.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly.
And there's your prawns.
Now the food was taken from a magazine.
That's the bit, right?
Yes. And I'm now looking at vine leaves because on the left-hand side I've got vine leaves. in the background, and I felt that there was an empty space next to the wine bottle, so I want to put some vine leaves into that area as well.
So you're really very conscious of your composition as you're going, and you're really working organically, though still working out how that's going to work as you go, which I find fascinating.
Yes.
But you haven't got a set idea when you start them.
No.
Yeah.
I kind of construct a painting and I let the painting dictate to me what it wants to do.
Right, and we can really see that the way you work. That's really interesting.
Well, I'm a right-sided brain person, and logic doesn't always come into it. Oh, I'm just showing you my grapes here because I was quite proud of growing them.
Right, and a bit more of a finished view, and there it is.
Great.